I do want to thank you, as some of our co-presenters were just mentioning, it is a remarkable testament to the commitment of Loyola parents that more than 200, maybe 300 parents, and many more may still come, would choose to come to their son's high school on a Thursday night to hear a presentation on technology. We all know how omnipresent technology is in our sons' lives and indeed in our lives. But typically at high school nights, you don't get the same turnout from parents on nights like these. But it's a testament to you and your interest and your commitment that you are here, and we hope that we have a good program set up for you. A few comments about how this night will go. We are going to have 3 different presenters giving some context about the areas that we discussed: social media, pornography, gaming, as sort of our highlights. But we want to give you guys a chance to interact and talk as parents. So you'll see in the center of your tables multicolored sheets, some pens, some scratch paper that will allow you to have conversations amongst yourselves that hopefully will give you some practical parent-to-parent advice or insight into our themes. We will also have a bathroom break somewhere in the middle. I know that some of you may need to use the restroom, and if that's the case, we will, or if we have to get up at any time during the presentation, we can go out these south doors, and you'll see signs for the bathroom. We'll use the bathrooms in Hannon and Ardolph halls as our bathrooms. I don't want to belabor it any further, so I do want to get involved in the program. We have 3 speakers. The first is a gentleman named Ben Tracy. Ben came highly recommended from Notre Dame Sherman Oaks, where he presented last year, and Ms. Cady, the principal there, strongly recommended he come and speak to us. So a little background on Ben. Ben is the president and co-founder of Renegade Media Strategies. Ben speaks to schools, businesses, and different organizations nationwide on the importance of safe social media use. Ben knows firsthand the repercussions of posting inappropriate things on social media. He was fired from a job as a personal assistant to the governor of Illinois when comments were found on his Twitter account from when he was a teenager. On paper, Ben had done everything right. Graduated cum laude with double majors, college athlete, and a member of the student senate. And now he realizes that he can turn that tragedy into something positive by presenting to schools and businesses about promoting a positive social media message. I'd like to introduce Ben Tracy.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thank you. So where I want to start actually is by showing you, if we can get it up here, some Loyola Kids posts that I was able to find on Twitter. So it's a little slow, so I'll give it away. What they are is insensitive, derogatory type language that I found on Twitter from probably some of your kids. And what I did, just the way I found them, just so you know, Twitter has what's called an advanced search feature. So I just went to like the official Loyola school Twitter account, and actually I think there was like an athletic Twitter account as well. And all these kids will put in their bio, Loyola class of 2021 or Loyola class of 2022. And so I would identify that student, and then with this advanced search, you can take that Twitter handle, and then I just typed in a string of insensitive, derogatory type words, profanity, and searched, and so it populated with only their posts, only those posts that included that. So in 5 minutes, literally 5 to 10 minutes, from Chicago, not knowing a single person at this school, I was able to find their posts, their tweets. And that was Twitter. I could have done the same thing on Instagram, done a location search on Instagram, searched Loyola High School, and found the same things, I'm sure, and which I have before at other schools. So, and this isn't like specific to Loyola, by the way. Actually, it took me 5 to 10 minutes. Usually it's like 2 to 3 minutes. So, if there's any, but the thing is I'm not the only one looking, right? I'm not like the only person, only stranger that'll ever look. 70% of employers look at social media now. 35% of college admissions counselors look at social media. I talk to a lot of college athletes. Their coaches tell me, we don't recruit a kid who has those type of posts, the insensitive, derogatory type stuff, the profanity. Because we don't know as a coach, is this actually reflective of who this kid is? Or is this kid just saying this ridiculous stuff as a joke and for the shock value of it? And since we don't know, we're going to go ahead and recruit a kid give a scholarship to a kid, another kid. So again, 70% of employers, and actually that's more than look at grade point average. So when your kid's going to get a job, the person that's going to hire them is more likely to look at their Instagram, their Twitter, their Facebook, right, and all of the rest of them than their grade point average from here at Loyola or from their college. So I don't know if we can bring up the next slide here. The next slide would be my face on the front page of the Chicago Sun-Times, which is the second largest newspaper in Illinois. So I was a kid who did a lot of stuff right growing up. I went to a Catholic college, St. Xavier, south side of Chicago. Got a scholarship to run track there. While I was there, I did the student senate. I was captain of the track team, double major, 4.0, internships, the whole thing. Great resume. There we go. There I am. So I removed the names and blacked out the words, but I'm sure you can figure out what those words might be. So yeah, there I am. And as I was saying, I was a kid who did everything right. Good grades, involved in a lot of stuff. I graduated from college, and my first job out of college was working in Illinois politics, which was probably my first mistake. And so I ran a campaign for a guy running for state senate in Illinois, did well. So I get a call 2 summers ago, so 2017. It's one of my colleagues, and this person says, Ben, we want you to interview for this job with the governor of Illinois. And what the job is you'll be his personal assistant. So you'll travel with him, you'll prep him for his media, you'll kind of just keep him apprised of what's going on, and you know, you'll be with him at all times. So that's on a Friday morning that I get that call. Same day, same afternoon, I interview with this governor and his staff and so forth. They say, we'll get back to you over the weekend. So they call me on Sunday, tell me I got this job, ask me to start the next day on Monday morning. And it's like what you expect a job like this to be, right? It's like this motorcade and cop cars, and here I am in this big black SUV with 2 Secret Service looking guys driving it, and it's this governor and I in the back seat. So our agenda is, for the day, we've got 2 press conferences we got to do. One in central Illinois, another one back up in like the northern part of the state, and then we're going to go back to Chicago. So we get to this first press conference. As we're walking in, I look at my phone, and I have all these new followers on my Twitter. And I think this is a good thing, right? Someone has obviously found out I got this job. More people are following me. And like a lot of your kids, more is good when it comes to followers. Doesn't really matter who they are, but more people are following me, and that's a good thing. So we go in, we do this press conference, come back out, get in the car, going to the second press conference I mentioned. Look at my phone again. Again, have a bunch of notifications. But this time they're not like new followers. They're like all my friends calling me and saying, Ben, you got to delete your tweets. You got to put your Twitter on private. This blog has screenshots of your tweets from 2012. So for a little context, I was a senior in high school in 2012. So delete your tweets, put your Twitter on private. So here I am in the car, governor's sitting right next to me. I've got my phone out, and I'm trying to find these tweets. I can't even find them, right? Because at this point, it's 5-6 years of tweets, and these were in when I first got Twitter, so I can't even find them. So finally, I just delete the whole Twitter account, but it's too late, right? This blog already has the screenshots. It's that picture on it. My name is on the Twitter, and so there's no running from it. And what the tweets were, just in full transparency, very similar in their content to what I put up there of the Loyola kids. Profanity, a couple homophobic slurs. Things that are wrong and have no place in our society, but things that I tweeted out that admittedly were wrong. So that's what the tweets were. So I'm in the car with this governor, deleted the account, whatever. So I get a call from one of this governor's staffers. This is a person I've never met. Again, this is my first day. This person, she introduces herself to me, and then she says, Ben, I'm sure you know, but this blog has these screenshots of your tweets, and, he's the governor, and you're working in such close proximity to him, and, that's not really going to be a good fit. I know that the tweets were from 5-6 years ago, but this ain't going to work out. So at the end of the day today, you're fired. So, literally 5 hours into this job. Pretty cool job for, somebody just a couple years out of college to have. So you're fired. So then I got to look at I'm still in the car, so I got to look at the governor, billionaire governor of Illinois, tell him about these tweets, which couldn't have thrilled him. No politician, I'm sure, is excited to get news that there may be some bad news coming out about them or, something negative. So it's kind of awkward, right? I'm still in the car with them. We're in, the middle of nowhere, Illinois. What do you talk about after that? And so I get a call from another staffer, different person than the first person that called me, but another person I've never met. And this person says, they ask me, Ben, are you still on your way to this second press conference? And I, of course, say yes, because they're in Chicago. We're out in the middle of nowhere. I say yes. And this person says, well, he's the governor, and you're this kid who tweets out these insensitive type tweets, these offensive tweets, and, it wouldn't really make for a very good story for the two of you to be seen together or photographed together at this next press conference. I'm sure their thinking was, Ben, we'd much rather just be your face on the front page than the two of you side by side, right? Which they did still work his picture in there. They photoshopped it in there, which is nice. And so, don't be seen with this guy. So we literally pull off the side of the interstate in the middle of nowhere, Illinois. We stop at this gas station. I get my stuff out of the SUV with the governor, and I get into this follow-up car. And while he does the press conference, I just have to sit there in this other car and make sure that I'm not seen or photographed. And definitely don't talk to any reporters. That's what they told me. And I knew that this was going to be a story based on this. There was a political element too, but some stuff this governor had done fired some other staff. And so I knew it was going to be a story, right? So I at least wanted to get ahead of it with my friends and family and so forth. So called my parents, and my grandparents are in their 90s. No idea what Twitter is, so I have to explain that, and tweeting. And tell them I even had this job, right? This is how fast this happened. Grandma didn't even know I had this job, that I lost this job. And then, Grandma, maybe don't read the newspaper in the morning. Right? And it all happened fast. Think about the timeline that I just laid out. Friday morning, I was this kid who running these campaigns. Friday afternoon, I interviewed for this job. Sunday, I get the job. Monday, I start to lose this job. And Tuesday, it's on the front page of the Chicago Sun-Times. And I'm 23 years old. I'm about a year and 2 months removed from college. Based on tweets that I made when I was your kid's age. And I'm not the only one. This is becoming a common theme, right? Athletes, celebrities, and even if your kids aren't going to be in the public eye, the number is still 70% of all employers, right? Or maybe you saw this story 2 weeks ago. College game day. So they're covering a college football game. University of Iowa is playing Iowa State. It's a rivalry. And college game day broadcasts ahead of the game, right? Like a pregame type thing. So they allow the fans to be in the background of on ESPN, on TV. So there's this kid in the background, and he's got this sign. And the sign says, "I need money for beer, Venmo me. So send me beer money." So people actually start sending this kid money. This is of legal drinking age. This isn't like a high school kid. Of legal drinking age, Venmo me beer money. So people actually start Venmoing him money, believe it or not. Like a couple $100,000 worth of money. So this kid's like, "I just wanted to buy one case of Busch Light. What am I going to, it's like $12. What am I going to do with the rest of this money?" So he's like, "I'm going to donate it to the University of Iowa Children's Hospital." So Anheuser-Busch is like, "Okay, we'll match every dollar you raise." And then Venmo is like, "Okay, we're also in on this." So you say you raise 200 grand, that's 600. Well, it ends up raising over $1 million. This kid's $1 million minus one case of Busch Light, all going to University of Iowa Children's Hospital. Well, this of course becomes news. And in the last paragraph of this Des Moines, Iowa newspaper talking about this great deed this kid had done, it said, "Oh, by the way, he's 24 now, but if you go back 8 years and you look at his Twitter page from when he was 16, he has these offensive posts out there." So not political in nature at all. Just, and nothing against the media, but it was a hit job, right? So Anheuser-Busch drops their partnership with this kid. And this becomes a story, these tweets. Well, somebody must have been upset that this is the way this newspaper went about reporting this. So somebody went back and looked through the tweets of this reporter from many years before. And the reporter had tweets that were just as offensive and just as derogatory as the kid who raised $1 million for the University of Iowa Children's Hospital. So it all comes full circle, reporter gets fired. So, the reason I use that example, my example, the athletes, celebrities, the stats, regardless of what the next step looks like for your family and your kid, people are going to look at their social media. Right? Colleges, employers, coaches, somebody that, maybe your kid just wants to have fun at college for the next 4 years. Still happened to this kid. And I think there's I would have thought this would never happen to me. And I'm sure if you ask my parents, they would say, "Oh, Ben's a good kid. He would never post anything like that." And plus, we care about his school and sports and all these other activities. The social media is like the side thing we weren't really concerned with. Right? But it happened to me. And it's happening to others, and frankly, it's going to continue to keep happening, right? The 70% number of employers looking isn't going down. All those numbers are going up. And if your kid is a freshman right now, that number might be 80, 85%, 90%. And frankly, the better job, the more prestigious school, the more they're going to look into this stuff, which is based on my conversation with your kids today, that's where they're going. So just please keep that in mind and have these conversations with them. And then kind of some recommendations. I like to call this the parenting advice from the 25-year-old single guy. Actually, today's my birthday, 26. So the first one there, and feel free to take pictures of this if you want. Create a digital contract with your kids. And I'm going to kind of get into what that looks like through the next 4 points. But you should set the ground rules ahead of time, right? And I know as parents of high school students, it might be a little late for that, right? It might be more damage control at this point. But as much as you can, set the rules ahead of time. So these apps are constantly changing. The features, even within the apps that already exist, are constantly changing, and it's hard to stay on top of, right? So if you have the ground rules and say, hey, this is what you can and can't do, regardless of the apps, and this is the consequences if you do, I think is a great thing. And there's like some templates out there online. Common Sense Media is one, I know has one. So that's what I would start with, right? And also make sure your kids feel like they can come to you and have these conversations. A lot of the times I'll tell these kids, hey, come ask me something afterwards, or we can talk. Because some of the stuff obviously they don't want to bring up in front of everyone. And they often say to me, I don't want to tell my parents because my parents will take my phone. And I would rather have my phone and not worry about the potential consequences of whatever's going on, right? Whether it be the cyberbullying, just being addicted to their phone, right? Having their phone in bed all night, and explicit photos and online predators. I mean, I've literally had kids tell me, I would rather just ignore this online predator than tell my parents what's going on because I want to keep my phone. So just having it be an open dialogue, I think, is a good starting point. The second one, monitor their accounts, right? So know which apps your kids are using. There are some apps out there that can help you do this. One of them is called Bark. A lot of parents use BARK, and you can basically all their apps can integrate, and you'll get a notification as a parent if they're using profanity or insensitive language, or if they say something about causing themselves or others harm. You'll be notified. So that's a good one. It works with social media, but also with text messages, with emails, with Google search queries. So that's one I've heard from a lot of people that they like. And then also sitting down with them and having a conversation with them about what they're posting, both moving forward, right, but also things they may have posted in the past, right? And what I told them, they go to a great school, obviously. Everyone here cares about them. They're at a time where they're growing and maturing and becoming more responsible. And if your kid's a senior and he's been on Twitter for 7 years, he's not even the same person, right, as he was in 6th grade. There's no problem with getting rid of those posts that could cause him to not get a job or not get into the college that he wants to go to. Right? He doesn't even recognize that kid, and neither do you as parents. So sitting down with them and making sure that those posts are gone, because when these people look, right, mine was 5 years later that this person looked. And a couple of the posts that I put up there were from 3 and 4 years ago, but yet I was still able to find them because of the way I searched. So monitor them, know which apps they're on, sit down with them and say, hey, we want to know exactly what apps you're using, and this is why. So a lot of parents say, well, I have my kid on Facebook, so I'm monitoring them. That is the most PG of any of them. And I ask the kids, which apps are you on? Say Snapchat, every hand goes up. Instagram, every hand goes up. TikTok, which is a newer one, more video-based. A lot of it is dancing and like lip singing, and a lot of hands went up for that. And they all giggle when I say TikTok, which usually means that's one as parents you should look at. So those are the main ones. Less so Facebook and Twitter, and I know I use those examples, but there not a lot of hands up for either one of those. The next one, implement a digital bedtime. And this goes more to what some of the other speakers are going to talk about. But the mental health stuff, so essentially the research is the longer your kids are looking at their phone every day, the more likely they are to have anxiety and depression and suicidal tendencies. So implement a digital bedtime. My advice to parents would be keep the phone out of their room. And I say that to them, and they all groan, which, again, is probably a good idea. And then the phone emits what's called a blue light. So the blue light essentially makes the body think that it's daytime when it's nighttime, so they don't fall asleep as easily and don't actually get as deep of a sleep. And then talking about like online predators type stuff and the explicit photos, most of that stuff happens after you as parents have gone to bed. So I would implement a digital bedtime and as much as possible, keep the phones out of the room. Report the cyberbullying, explicit photos, and sextortion. So what's sextortion? What's that even mean? Let me just give you an example. It's probably the easiest way to explain it. So I was in St. Louis 2 weeks ago. This mom comes up to me afterwards and she says this, and she says, feel free to share this. My daughter is a 16-year-old girl here at this high school, and she started this guy who said he was a 16-year-old guy from the other side of St. Louis, contacted her, and he had a legit profile with pictures of a 16-year-old guy, and so they start talking. And this 16-year-old guy convinced my daughter to send a private, explicit photo of herself to him. Well, as this all happened, she then realized that it in fact wasn't a 16-year-old guy from the other side of St. Louis. In fact, it was a 50-year-old man from Canada. But this 50-year-old man says, I know who you are. I know who all your friends are because you tag them in every single post you make on Instagram. I know who your mom is because I've friended you on Facebook. We've talked enough that I know all of the organizations you're involved with, what you do, who your teachers and principals are. So now I want you to send me another picture. And I want you to send me a video. Actually, better yet, I'm going to drive down from Canada and we're going to meet up. And if you don't send me that picture, send me that video, or meet up with me, I'm going to take that first picture that you sent me thinking I was a 16-year-old guy, and I'm going to send it to all those people I just mentioned. That's sextortion. And it's very, very common. Report that to the law enforcement. And with the cyberbullying, especially if it's a continued thing, go to the school and, the adults that are around them. But the explicit photos, any online predators type stuff, go straight to the law enforcement. And what the law enforcement wants is, and some of the others may speak to this as well, but they want the handle and then an exact account of what happened. Even if your kid did something wrong or was complicit in it, they need to know. The common mistake that parents and kids make is they go to the social media company first. So this happens through Instagram. They go to Instagram and they say, Instagram, take this account down. Instagram does that, but then the law enforcement can't track this person down as easily. So go to law enforcement, let them find this person, and then get the account taken down. And then the last one, just try to stay up to date on this as much as possible. This is my information, Safe Social Network on Facebook, and then Ben J. Tracy on Instagram and Twitter. And if there's any way that I can be of help, building a website that's going to do videos for parents of trying to keep you up to date on this, of new apps and kind of things as they're happening, right? Because my experience has been there's like a lag time between when these kids get on the apps and then when parents find out what's actually going on, and then the parents get on there and then there's a new app, right? And then kids move on to something else because their parents are on that. So if there's any way, I don't want any of your kids to go through what I went through, to lose a job or not get into the college that they want to go to. And I certainly don't want any of you to probably feel the embarrassment and maybe even guilt in some ways that my parents felt for not looking at this stuff. So again, if there's any way that I can be of help to you, and I'll stick around too if there's, again, something personal that you want to share, ask me afterwards. Thank you.